everybody. Welcome to everyone. I'm really happy to be meeting with you and sharing ideas about writing creatively over the next 5 weeks. So I took a look at why each of you want to take this course. And it's really interesting in that some people said they would like to improve and to learn more. So I think the best solution for that is to read. Reading is very much a part of writing. So to improve one's language and to learn more about creative writing, you have to both write and read. Some people said they would like to communicate through this course. And of course, communication is very important. All writing must communicate. We write for ourselves, but we also write so that it will reach others. Ultimately, we want our writing to be read by others. Some people said they love books and writing, and therefore they're taking this course. Wonderful. Yes, continue to read and continue to write. Some wanted to improve their writing skills. Here again, improving writing skills comes with reading, because as we read, we learn more, we improve our vocabulary, we learn how to write, we look at all the ways in which people write, and it improves our writing skills. One person had a dream of writing for children. Now, writing for children is an entirely new field. It's a different field altogether, because we can't put all children in one group. We have to put them according to age groups and write for a particular age group, and also a particular culture. And the whole thing is a completely new field which can be taken up as a course on its own, writing for children. If you have a passion for writing, excellent, keep on writing. And somebody wanted to turn their imagination into a book. The imagination has to be turned into a sentence first, into a paragraph, into a page, and then into a book, but it's excellent. Don't think that you lack creativity, which is what some people said. There is no one that lacks creativity. If you can cook, you are creative. If you can sew, you are creative. If you can cross the road effectively, you are creative. So creativity expresses itself in a variety of ways, and writing is just one of them. So that's just what I wanted to say about the responses that Vicky got on the spreadsheet from all of you. So excellent, and I'm so happy that you're here. Now, to introduce the course, we wake up each day to sights and sounds. We are placed in circumstances. We are caught and ensnared in situations. We encounter extraordinary events each day, and even mysteries. Some things are so mysterious. So each day we wake up to all these things. Is this not the stuff out of which stories are made? Yeah, this is what we use for stories. And this is what narratives are woven out of, just what is happening in our lives every day. Now, how do we garner the ideas for writing, whether it is you're writing poetry or you're writing fiction, from this abundance of human experience? Yeah, all these things around us that is happening each day. How do we build plots? How do we construct character? And how do we make it all speak and communicate to the reader? We can write for ourselves, but how do we bring all this together and make it communicate to the reader? What are the strategies? What are the techniques that are available to us? This is what we're going to be looking at in the course of the next 5 weeks, today included. So we will look at the practice of writing fiction and also the discipline of fiction writing in this course. We will also read brief pieces. I've given some reading material, so I would like you to read them. And these are by established writers, and these are models for us. So this will enable us to look beyond the text. So we have a text in front of us. We will read what these writers have written. But beyond the text, there is a hidden machinery which makes that piece of writing work. So what is the hidden machinery? That's the interesting and important thing that we will be looking at. So what is it about each piece of writing, each short story? You know, when you read something and you say, oh, that was brilliant. How did the writer do it? You know, that's the hidden machinery behind the text. So what is it about writing that makes it appeal? What is it that gives it that twist? What is it that gives it that that helps you to enjoy that piece of writing? So the ultimate goal is to encourage you to exercise your creativity, to write freely and fearlessly, to communicate effectively. This is what we want all of us to do. And to find fulfillment. Writing gives you great fulfillment. Practicing that craft of writing, that's what ultimately we want to achieve with all of us. Now, anywhere you are, when you start creative writing, you're always asked, why do you write? And we can ask ourselves, why do we write? Is writing a vocation? Is it something that we've always wanted to do? Do you write because you're inspired? You're just a person who is inspired by certain things and you want to put it down on paper or on the computer. Do you write for survival? There are young people who write for economic survival. There are people in the US that when they finish their degree and they are looking for a job, write because they're just good at writing, or they try their hand at writing, send it off to journals, send it off to magazines. And if it is accepted, they get paid for it, $50, $100. This is economic survival. And people have always, through the ages, written for survival. We also write for survival as women. Women have been isolated from time immemorial. When we look back, we know that women have been isolated. There's a psychological survival in writing. There is an isolation that women feel, whether they are housewives for a long time, of course, as women who didn't work and who stayed home, women who lived in places where they are isolated from other women. There are long distances to travel to meet other people. These women have always looked for ways of writing. So this gives you psychological survival. It is as if you are talking to someone when you write. Do you engage in the craft of writing? So is the craft of writing very important to you? So just as the craft of embroidery or painting or quilting or photography, writing is yet another craft. So we have to develop the craft, and some people enjoy the mere craft of writing. Is writing an ambition? Do you want to succeed? You want to succeed in life, and writing is one of those things. You want to call yourself a writer. So is that the reason why you write? So I think these are all different reasons. Now, George Orwell, who wrote Animal Farm, the novel Animal Farm, which you may be familiar with, he has a whole book, a little book, which is called Why I Write. And in that, he gives 4 reasons for writing. Sheer egoism, Then aesthetic enthusiasm, that is beauty. When you see something beautiful, you want to write about it. When you see the beauty of nature, you want to describe it. So aesthetic enthusiasm. The third is historical impulse. Sometimes you feel that you want to record the moment. You have to write about it so that what is happening now doesn't pass and you have not recorded it and it stays as a historical record. So a historical impulse makes you want to write about it, particularly if there's something happening, a conflict, a revolution, and you want to write about it. The fourth, what he says is political purpose. So people write for a political reason for writing. Political, not necessarily being part of a political party, but political in a way of wanting to change the world, change the society through your writing, trying to write in a way in which it brings about change, and that is political. Yeah. Am I making sense? Is it okay?
Ma'am, I have a question, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, Oscar Wilde wrote Why I Write, and those are
Yeah.
4 points. Yeah, what is the first point, ma'am? I forgot to.
Okay, it's not Oscar Wilde, it's George Orwell. Did you get that? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
George Orwell. Hello, did you get it?
Yes, George Orwell, we got it.
Yeah, George Orwell, Orwell, George Orwell. So the first is egoism, yeah, being egotistical, sheer egoism. The second is aesthetic enthusiasm, aesthetic in terms of beauty, yeah. The third is historical impulse, and the fourth is political purpose. So having a political purpose, a purpose to change the world, change society, do something dramatic through your writing that will bring about change. And that's what he says is his favorite reason for writing, a political purpose. Now, we come to storytelling. We all enjoy listening to stories. I think ever since we were children, we enjoy listening to stories and also reading stories. So by that same token, we find a unique satisfaction in writing stories. So when we come to writing, some of the important things are to have your eyes peeled, which is to observe. In order to write, we have to be keen observers. We can't let life pass us by, but every moment we are observant, we are observing, we are looking, we're watching, because these are the things we're going to write about. We are listening, yeah, listening to how people speak or how they don't speak. All the senses have to be alert in order to be a good writer. Yeah, there are stories even in silence. Don't you think so? Like a friend of yours who you have always communicated with and you've had good fun together. One day she is silent. She doesn't talk to you. Now there is a story there. Or a husband comes home from work and he is very abrupt. He goes about, he has his meal, he doesn't talk. There is silence in the home for a period of time, but there is a story there. So there are stories even in silence, and we have to be aware of this and always watch for stories. I carry a pocket notebook in my handbag, and it's a good idea to keep one, where I jot down ideas, because when you're out during the day, things occur to you from the things you observe, things you hear. Sometimes they're words, strange words that people use, or words that come to you. Sometimes it's bits of dialogue, the way people speak, the unique ways in which people express themselves. Sometimes they are shop signs that you see outside shop windows. If you're in a restaurant, the menu. I have written down menus in restaurants because they're very interesting. The way in which they're phrased. There was one restaurant where the restaurant owner put a hyphen for everything, chicken hyphen biryani, fish hyphen roll. It was so funny, so it was something different from how things are usually presented. So I wrote it down. So there are ways in which people express themselves, and it's good to have a little notebook in which you're recording these things so that later when you come to write, you have something. The best source book for writing is your journal. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll talk about it again perhaps next week. But journal writing or writing a diary, it is writing, it's something that you can write at length. You can write a short piece, you can write a page a day, you can write more than that, but you have the freedom to write. And it is writing practice. So you can write in any mode because you're writing for yourself. You can choose your perspective. Yeah, you can go on the computer, open a file or a folder saying your journal, and then start putting stuff in it, writing each day, putting a page, half a page, a paragraph. You can talk to the journal as if you're talking to a friend. You can talk in a very casual way. You can examine your ideas. I've sorted out many things in my mind, things that have puzzled me, things about people's behavior or things I come across by just writing about it, by articulating it, by voicing it. Yeah, so you voice your thoughts. And in doing that, you're also developing your own fictional voice. What is your voice? What is your voice in writing? There is a voice in speaking and there is a voice in writing. So you develop a fictional voice. Now, when we write about a person, we are out somewhere and you meet somebody interesting or something peculiar about someone, and you come home and in your journal, you write about that person. And in writing about the person, you are developing character. These are the people who now become characters in fiction. When you come to write a short story or a novel, you can draw from this. And I have done that many times. One of my short stories ends with lipstick on the edge of a coffee mug. And at the end of this, I would like to give you that as a writing prompt and see where it will take you. So I think there is also a piece that I sent called Trout Friday for you to read. It's just a piece from a short story by Jackie Kay. So I would like you to read that, because in one paragraph, it says a lot about what the rest of the story is going to be and what that person is, the central character in that story, Trout Friday. So read that, and then we can talk about that next week. But I will give you a sort of reading list as we go along. I would like you to read short story writers like Jackie Kay. You don't have to take this down, but I will give it to you at some point. Alice Munro, Raymond Carver, John Cheever, Sashi Deshpande, and Alice Walker. Alice Walker has written a novel. She's American, and it's called The Color Purple. And I'm sure she started off with a journal, with a diary, because she writes, the entire novel is written like a diary, but addressed to God. Each chapter starts with Dear God, and then she goes on and on and on and on. The next chapter again starts, Dear God. Yeah. So a journal can be like a letter. It can be a letter you're writing to somebody. Journal writing also tests our language ability, yeah, your choice of words. your diction, your ability to describe. Yeah. The only way to become a writer is to write. So to become a writer, there's just no other way. Every writer will tell you this, that the only way to become a writer is to continue writing. As you continue to writing, you hone your skills, just like as you play the violin, you become an expert. As you play the piano, you become an expert. The only way to become an expert is to play. And the same way, the only way to become a writer is to write. Reading and writing go together. So it's very important that as you're writing each day, you're also reading a book. Read everything that you can lay hands on, whether it's the sports page of the newspaper, read it. Because if you're going to write about cricket or you're going to write about baseball, you should know the language. You should know the type of words to use. So read sports, read about cookery, read cookery books, read novels, read short stories, read everything. And read with intent. Read to see the writer's use of language. How is the writer using language? What are the tricks played by writers in a short story or in a novel? Sometimes the writers drop hints about where the story is going to take us. We overlook those hints and then it comes as a surprise at the end. But when you go back and look, there are hints. So these are things that we can look for as we write. At the moment, I'm reading a novel by a Nobel Prize winner called Isaac Singer, Singer, Singer. He's Israeli, and his characters are so real, as if they can walk off the page. You know, when you read them, you really identify. And this is one of the things we do. When we read something that is so real and so convincing, we identify with the narrator or we identify with the characters. And we find ourselves in that work of fiction, whether the fiction is set in Peru or Australia or Israel or India, wherever the novel is set, we find ourselves there because we become so much one with what has been written. So some writers are good at narrative, others are good at dialogue, some are good at both. But sometimes a novel unfolds almost through dialogue, lots of dialogue. Writing is not just a statement of fact, yeah? So we can't take something that happens and put it very plainly, a statement of fact. This is creative writing. So as we are writing, there are association of ideas. So other things drop like a pebble in the mind. So it's almost like dropping a pebble in a pool of water. When you drop a pebble, there are rings that form around it. In the same way, there is an association of ideas. When you write a sentence, other things come to mind. And these are the rings that enrich your writing. These are the things that resonate, yeah? When you ring a bell, there's a resonance. So these are the things that resonate when we write. What I mean is, like when I look at, or I'm given a cup of frothy, milky coffee, it takes me back to my childhood. There are resonances. Immediately, there are memories. It takes me to Chennai. Sometimes it takes me to an incident as a 6-year-old when we went to visit a relative, and I was given instructions to behave myself and not to touch anything that I'm given, and to act like a lady. I was only 6 years old. But the moment they came and put the snacks in front of me, I reached out and put my hand on it. The next thing I did was, I said, "Where is the coffee?" This is the question I asked. And this was an incident. My mother will never forget it because she always tells me that this is what I did. And I was banned from visiting for a period of time because of that. So when like some small thing now reminds you, it takes you back. And these are the things that will enrich your writing. So let your mind wander. Let it take you where it is taking you, and write those things down. Just write them. Yeah. So writing evokes memories. Some memories are recent, some memories are distant. But there are now a statement surgery. We had to give things away because she couldn't manage the home anymore. Of course, she protested. Now, this is a statement of fact. Now, I took that statement of fact and I wrote a short piece called Letting Go. I have sent that by email or whatever way it is reaching all of you. So take a look at that and read it, and we will talk about it. It's a piece called Letting Go. Yeah. So try to see and write, even when you're on the bus, what you see while you're on the bus from point A to point B. What are the things you observe? Is maybe the same route that you take every day, but there may be things that are different. Things happen. And if you're observant, you'll be able to pick it up and write about it. Now, are there any questions before we go to the appointment in Samara, the very short piece?
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you tell me who is the writer or the author of the piece that you just named, Letting Go?
Okay, I wrote it. I'm the author.
Oh, achha, okay, fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the short piece called The Appointment in Samara, were you all able to read it?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Did you have any problems with it? Any difficulties?
Ma'am, it took me 6 readings to understand what actually happened, but I really enjoyed when I figured what happened.
Yes. You can see that the punchline comes at the end, isn't it? The last line.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So let me just read it very quickly. There was a merchant in Baghdad who sent his servant to the market to buy provisions. And in a little while, the servant came back and he was white and trembling. And he said, Master, just now, when I was in the marketplace, I was jostled by a woman in the crowd. And when I turned, I saw that it was death that jostled me. She looked at me and made a threatening gesture. Now lend me your horse, and I will ride away from this city and avoid my fate. I will go to Samara, and there death will not find me. The merchant gave him his horse, and the servant mounted it, and he dug his spurs into the flanks, and as fast as the horse could gallop, he went. He went off to Samara, from Baghdad. Then the merchant went down to the marketplace, and he saw me. That is, death is described. Death is the speaker in the story. So he saw me standing in the crowd and came to me and said, why did you make a threatening gesture to my servant when you saw him this morning? And death answers, that was not a threatening gesture. I said, it was only a start of surprise. I was astonished to see him in Baghdad, for I had an appointment with him tonight in Samara. So a very short pace, and it's a fable. It's a Mesopotamian, that is Iraqi, modern Iraqi fable. And there is an irony there in that one cannot escape the inevitable. So we cannot escape the inevitable. Whatever is going to happen, that's what the story is trying to say, that whatever is going to happen will happen. The other thing, it's a very short story, but it carries a message. Just like you have probably read Aesop's fables. where you have animals stories, like the fox that says, these grapes are too sour. I don't want it anymore, because he couldn't reach the grapes. Have you read that?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like that. So there is irony. It's a very short piece, but it's a story with a twist. Death here is personified as a woman. Yeah. And as we read it, it makes you think about, here, death is a woman in the market, as if she's looking for people. And she has already put her eyes on this servant of this master. But the servant had come to the market to buy things for his master, and she jostled him. I think it's interesting that the word jostled is used. You see, this is where the choice of words is important in writing. Jostled is to sort of shove and push. So she came and pushed against him. And when he looked, he recognized the face of death. And so he fled from that place. He ran away, asked the master for the horse, and he said he will go in the opposite direction to another town, Samara, as far away from death as possible, so that she won't find him. And the irony of it is in the last line, which says that death had an appointment with him in Samara. So that night, she was going to find him. She was going to reach Samara and get him, but he didn't know, and he had fled from there. So escaping his fate, that is avoiding the fate and riding in the opposite direction, he says that death made a threatening gesture at him. So it makes us wonder, what was the threatening gesture? The story also makes us wonder, how is death portrayed in other cultures? Here, death is a woman in the market. Death in Hindu mythology or iconography is like a figure on a buffalo with a big rope, a noose, trying to throw it on the person and tighten the noose. Yeah. In Greek mythology, death is a boatman waiting with a boat to take people across to the other side. Yeah. The living and the dead being separated by a river, as it were. So these are all different ways in which writers present ideas. So that's what I was looking at. Now, so any questions on that story? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Anyone, please share your thoughts.
Okay. How many minutes do we have, Anita?
We do have, would you like to stretch for the 15 minutes that we lost out earlier? If
Is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. In terms of the session, yes, but it depends on everyone if they're okay to wait for the 15 minutes. Can you put a thumbs up if you're willing? Okay, so we have several who are willing. Yes.
So we have about 15 minutes?
We can go on to say 25 minutes.
25 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to give these writing prompts and give people, should I say 5 minutes? Can you write in 5 minutes? And then we ask them to read.
Yes.
Shall we say 10 minutes? Let's say
Yes.
10 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have this prompt, if you can write it down. When I look in the mirror, when I look in the mirror. And I want you to continue with the sentence. See if you can write a paragraph, if you can write 2 sentences, if you can write whatever, however it moves you. And when you're done with that, I'll give you one more prompt and then one assignment to take home. Okay, so 10 minutes from now, that will be, is it 4:30?
It's 4:50.
4:50. Okay.
Right. In the mirror.
About 3 minutes more.
Hello, are we done?
3 minutes more.
How many minutes?
Three.
3, okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, are we done,
Yes.
Anita?
Yes, over to you so that you can pick anyone who would like to read out.
Okay, I would, are there volunteers? Is there somebody who would like to read?
Hamsini is there.
Yes, Hamsini. All right. Can we have Hamsini read what you have written? When I looked in the mirror.
Okay, so can you all hear me?
Yes.
So I wrote a few lines. When I look in the mirror, I see a reflection of a person who has never liked being quiet, but has started enjoying silence. When I look in the mirror, I see a person not ready to be a woman yet. I see a girl who is not ready to be a woman yet, but ready to embrace the journey. When I look in the mirror, I see a person who's happy only after only after making others happy. When I look in the mirror, I see a person who has so much love deep inside, which comes out as extreme obsession. When I look in the mirror, I see a person who loves little things. When I look in the mirror, I see a girl who has fantasies and fake scenarios playing in her head, a daydreamer. When I look in the mirror, I see a different and gradually evolving person every day, and I love that person. That's it.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Hamsini, I think you're a poet more than a fiction writer. It's very poetic.
I can do both. At least I try to do both. So yeah.
Yes, it's very poetic, particularly the way you repeat the when I look in the mirror and then, you know, everything else changes. And I like your choice of words. And I think it says something about the central person that is in the mirror. And I like the way you ended that. I like when I look in the mirror, I like the person I see. Isn't that what you said?
I said, when I look in the mirror, I see a different and gradually evolving person every day. And I love that person.
I love that person. Okay, excellent, excellent. So it's you should try writing poetry. I think you should. Okay.
Yes, yes. I do write sometimes. Yes.
Okay, great, great, great. Well, take this up and see whether you can develop it into a poem without any repetition of what you see in the mirror. In some of the lines, you may want to drop the when I look in the mirror and then continue. Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
can we have
thank you.
another person? Anita, who is number 2 on the list?
There's Ramani.
Okay, Ramani.
Please unmute and
Yes, ma'am.
Please read slowly and clearly so that I can pick up. The voices are not very loud at this end. So
Ma'am, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, so it's gonna be sad. Please bear with me for a few seconds, few minutes. When I look in the mirror, I see all of my scars. These scars are the proof to my life lessons, which I learned the hard way. When I look in the mirror, I try different angles and try to choose one such angle which is second to none for me. But in reality, I gotta put on different faces to meet the other person's expectations. When I look in the mirror, I can feel my real self. I really don't want to fake a smile. It is difficult to confront yourself when you're not being yourself. When I look in the mirror in the morning, I tell myself what all things I am to do, and at the end of the day, I see my tired face in the mirror. When I look in the mirror, I try not to self criticize or degrade myself, saying, I'm not enough, I'm not fit for this, because the things I tell myself when I look in the mirror molds my entire personality. When I'm feeling down in the dumps, I feel like hugging myself and I extend my hand so to hug the mirror, which bears my reflection for comfort. When I look in the mirror, I think of things which are even unspoken in the depths of my heart. When I look in the mirror, I tell myself, pick your battles and fight them with all your might. I got to handhold myself in this transient journey. I take pride in myself when I look in the mirror and I tell myself, you are on your own, you're all by yourself, by yourself, to yourself. That's all, ma'am.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Very good. Again, are you a poet?
No, ma'am, I lack creativity. So that is the thing I wrote in the.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I hope everybody knows that you don't have to repeat when I look in the mirror, because what you have written here, you've written it like a poem again, can be a paragraph. Just the first line can be when I look in the mirror, and then the rest of it can flow as prose. So you can have, I think it's what you've written is very philosophical. I like the idea of the tired face in the mirror when you look at it at the end of the day. Then the idea of the entire personality emerging from the mirror, and that you like to hug yourself when you look in the mirror. I think that's a very, it's a very good expression. So there is a definite direction in the writing, and it again will make a good poem, but it will also make a good paragraph if you write it. Is the beginning of a story. And then, one doesn't have to focus on oneself. From that, you can now branch out into other things. This is the thing with creative writing. Once you've started, you know that you can now branch out. It will now suggest other ideas from that, from looking in the mirror, what happens, or maybe a memory of something that happened before can now intrude on it, and you can continue from there. Yeah. So well done. Good. Number 3.
There's Shweta.
Shweta.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's have
I
yours,
didn't
Shweta.
write too much. I wrote, when I look in the mirror, I see myself who likes her just as it is. And I see myself who is defective as per the society. So it's like I see two versions of me in the mirror, one which is acceptable and one which is not.
Uh-huh. Is that it?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that it, Shweta? Okay.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yeah. So I think you haven't given yourself enough time to, maybe you need more time to write, but you certainly have the seed of an idea. These two versions of yourself, you can start exploring the two versions in a story or in a paragraph, which can now expand into other things. What is it about you? What are the two versions? How do people see you? And how does that make you feel? And how do you react to it? Are there particular situations that you can describe? So it can take you on a long journey. That just those two versions. You can even call the piece two versions instead of when I look in the mirror. Okay. Or the two
Yes, ma'am.
sides of me or something. Give it a title. And that will now help you to write. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Shweta. Number 4.
Amrita.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Amrita.
I'm afraid even I wrote it in a poetic way.
Okay.
When I look in the mirror, I see a stranger's shimmer. For a long time, everything was bitter. But now when I look in the mirror, it doesn't trigger. I don't know what changed. Perhaps maybe I just aged. But now there is no rage, nor I feel caged. I hope it stays this way. If not, it's okay. For I learned to live today. That's it.
Oh, that's a nice short poem that when you look in the mirror, you see a stranger. Something has changed. So what has changed? That's what the rest of the poem, because you've written it as a poem, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the rest of the poem, you will explore. Something has changed, but what has changed? And I think that should take you places. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica.
Anita, we have like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Do you want to wind up? Maybe everybody can send them to you. Shall we put your email in the chat?
Yes, you can put my email down so that people can send it in.
Yes.
So I want to give one more topic
Yes.
for writing.
Yes.
Now, we have all these senses. We have a sense of seeing, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. Now, choose 2 of the senses and write 2 pages. I'm talking about 2 pages, typed pages on that. 2 senses, choose the senses. So if you want to, I don't know, those who are poetic, do you want to write it as a poem? It's up to you. But write about 2 of the senses. Then the other assignment was to continue with when I look in the mirror and see it a bit. Is that okay?
Could you please repeat it once again, Kanchana?
Okay. The assignment is the sense of seeing, hearing, touch, smell, and taste, the 5 senses. Choose 2 of the senses about not writing separately. You can write it in any way you want. If you want hearing together with taste. Just bring in the two senses in a piece of writing, 2 pages, 2 typed pages, and write it as fiction or write it as a poem. But the way in which maybe when you hear like a piece of music coming from next door, from the TV, where does that take you? So I'm just giving you an example. Like I wake up in the morning and if I hear the pressure cooker hissing next door, where does that take me? And I start writing about that. From that, I have other memories of my mother's cooking or about Chennai or where I come from. And there are so many other things that may follow. So a sense of hearing taking me places, or tasting something and immediately it takes you somewhere. So that sort of thing. So take 2 of the senses and write 2 pages of fictional piece on that. And then continue with when I look in the mirror and see whether you can develop it into something. Okay. Now the next class, I had asked everyone to read Kate Chopin's short story called The Story of an Hour. I hope it's not too complex for you. It's a very interesting story, but read it and then we can sort of go over it at the next class. And then we'll also talk about the practice and discipline of writing and the starting line and developing a fictional voice and how do you show rather than tell. These are the things we look at in the next class, next Friday.
We'll share the sharing once again in the group chat, the WhatsApp chat, and any writing will be mailed to you directly by the participant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think you're going to send it on email, the assignments.
Yes. The assignments will be
So
on
the assignments should be
individually.
in before next Friday.
Great.
Okay. And you read the story and everybody will read the story and then come to the next class. Okay, good. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.